guard is 6'8", kid from St. George, Utah. Number 6, Isaac.
What is up, you guys? So the UH men's basketball team's home season has officially come to an end. And unfortunately, it ended in a split when it really should have been a double win or a sweep. And as you can see by these two scores here, UH would defeat UC Riverside 93-74, but they would fall on senior night to Long Beach State 84-75. And as a result, because of this split, UH will have the number 2 seed going into the Big West tournament. And after a day or two of waiting, I have found out that UH will face off against Cal State Fullerton in the Big West tournament semifinals in Henderson, Nevada on Friday. And Fullerton, I believe, is the number 3 seed or somewhere around there. But still, that's going to be a chess match. And you can bet that Cal State Fullerton wants revenge after what Dre Bullock did at their place at the buzzer. But we needed that win for sure. And unfortunately, this last split really hurt because it unfortunately would have meant a share of the Big West regular season championship. But unfortunately, it just wasn't meant to be. Because UH got out to 2 good starts, though. But unfortunately, they went through one of their droughts where they don't score for a certain period of time. And it's enough to send them home to losers and allowed their opponents to take advantage of it. And Gavin Sykes had returned for Long Beach State. He did not play in UH's road game against the Beach because of an injury. But I'll get into that in a minute. But before I get to that, guys, 2 things. First off, remember, subscribe if you think that I'm worth listening to, or if you just want to see some more of my games. I hope to have one up this coming week, and we'll see if I will get to do that. The second thing is I was unable to attend senior night because I had to help MC the Shave Ice Cup at the Hawaii Convention Center this past weekend, which was a lot of fun for 7 Gen, and that's the media club that I joined up this past fall, or this past summer, rather. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. So anyway, remember, subscribe. Let's get into this. Okay, now here's my banner. UH beats UC Riverside but falls to Long Beach State. Both finished 2nd place in Big West. Eran Ganot deserves extension. Now, I'm going to get to this game first because any shots that you will see on this video were all taken by me, and they will all be from UC Riverside because I was unable to attend the Long Beach State game. Again, that was because I was at the Shave Ice Cup at the Hawaii Convention Center, and I will be back there again next month for Spam Slam on April 11th and 12th. But still, let's get to this now. UH beats UC Riverside 93-74. That was a good win for the University of Hawaii. These are against 2 teams who are not going anywhere, after the last week of the regular season. They were both eliminated early. That while they could have used Hunkenclader's services, they were able to find a way to compensate with that loss and win by a decent amount. 19 points is not anything to be sad about, winning by 19. But still, we could definitely have used Aaron Hunkenclader's services, and something tells me that had Aaron been out there for the Long Beach State game, that may very well have been a victory. I'm going to say that right now. Because Eran's ball control was getting to be much, much better, and he wasn't turning the ball over so much, because there are times where he would have as many as 4 or 5 turnovers at game's end. But lately, his ball control had become much better. Now, Riverside, I would give that game an A grade, but that one could have been a bit of a train wreck, because Riverside was kind of bodying up UH a lot, and particularly that was from their big man, BJ Colley. But still, props to him too, because he played really well. Andrew Henderson played really well. He had 26 to lead the Highlanders, and Marquis Worthy had 17. So that tells me, and they made 9 threes in that game, but they were 9 for 23. And on the other hand, UH was 4 for 10. Now, you would think that with Long Beach, or I should say Riverside, making that many triples, that would have been a much closer game. But it wasn't. UH was able to get out to a good start, and they were able to take a double-digit lead. And although Riverside did try to make it close, and props to them, we were just too much for UC Riverside. And don't get me wrong, Riverside is a great program. We've had our fair share of troubles against them, and that was the only team that we had yet to get a season sweep over until the 2023-24 season, where we were able to finally break that jinx. And last season was a bit of a train wreck against UC Riverside, because we beat them at their place only to fall at home because they went on a giant run. On the other hand, UH was 4 for 10. Now, you would think that with Long Beach, or I should say Riverside, making that many triples, that would have been a much closer game. But it wasn't. UH was able to get out to a good start, and they were able to take a double-digit lead. And although Riverside did try to make it close, and props to them, we were just too much for UC Riverside. And don't get me wrong, Riverside is a great program. We've had our fair share of troubles against them, and that was the only team that we had yet to get a season sweep over until the 2023-24 season, where we were able to finally break that jinx. And last season was a bit of a train wreck against UC Riverside, because we beat them at their place only to fall at home because they went on a giant run. Now, they didn't have the services of guys like Barrington Hargress and Nee Olabode, because those are 2 guys that were on the team last year and really provided a big pain in the butt to the Rainbow Warriors. And as a result, UH did not qualify for the Big West tournament last year. This year, the shoe's on the other foot, and Riverside did not qualify for the Big West tournament. Neither did Cal State Bakersfield, but they were dealing with injuries as well. Long Beach was eliminated pretty early, and Cal Poly got the last seat. But still, props to Cal Poly. That's 2 times in a row that they made the Big West tournament. And it wasn't long ago that they ended the conference season without a victory in 2024. But still, that was a good game for the University of Hawaii. The guy who came up big and led the team, Giannis Nemicha, with 19 points. And that was good for Giannis, because although he's been the 6th man off the bench, he's definitely proven that he can handle whatever position, whether it's the lead scorer or the 6th man off the bench. Now, obviously, last year was a bit of a train wreck. This season has been anything but a train wreck. And I assure you, this is a hell of a turnaround from last year when we didn't qualify for the tournament, because we got some quality pickups like Isaac Johnson and Hunter Erickson, and also Dre Bullock, just to name a few.
Yes.
But the one guy that has really stepped up big for the Rainbow Warriors since Hunkin Clater went down with his injury has been Isaac Finlinson. And there are times where I was looking for Finlinson to come out with a rebound performance after kind of a lousy game than the previous one before, like against HPU. When Finlinson didn't score against Arizona State, he came out for 12. And at the time, I was looking for him to have a rebound performance. And he delivered. Finlinson, this game had 17, UC Riverside. And he really aided in UH being able to extend their lead over the Highlanders. Now, shifting gears to the Long Beach State game, I would give that game a B+, but that was a game that they could have won and obviously should have. They got out to 2 good starts. Now, I did read the recap really carefully, and I did also follow the game through social media because, of course, I couldn't be there. Now, they did get off to a good start in the first half. Unfortunately, Long Beach had come back to take the lead. But the only guy who really did most of the legwork for UH in the first half was Hunter Erickson because he had 18 by the end of the first half. Unfortunately, the problems that UH had with their scoring droughts kind of costing them really did them in. But in the first half, Erickson was the only guy doing most of the legwork, but everybody else had not so great, was not really good from the field. But you can't say they didn't try, despite the fact that they ended the first half down 10. But then they come back, go on a 14-3 run, force 6 Long Beach turnovers. That's right, 6 turnovers in a 4 minutes plus span. They took the lead by 5, but then went through another one of those lulls, and Gavin Sykes made them pay, which is really unfortunate. There's no stop. It is hard to win over a team with a guy who puts in 34 points like Gavin Sykes, and that's exactly what he did. And then Long Beach goes on a 9-0 run, all from Gavin Sykes himself, and that's enough to send UH home to losers. And like I said, you cannot say that this team didn't try, because they sure as hell did. The problem is, though, when you suffer those droughts, that's enough to really ding your confidence, and it's enough to affect your performance, even though you don't think so. But you can definitely see it visibly. But still, that was a good effort. They proved they could come back, but they had to close out, and Gavin Sykes didn't let them. But props to Sykes. And that's why UH lost, because he was back. And as soon as I heard that Gavin Sykes was back, I was pretty skeptical about that. And not going to take anything away. Long Beach is a good program. They won the tournament 2 seasons ago, but didn't qualify last year, and certainly didn't qualify this year too. But still, that one hurt for sure, because that would have meant a share of the Big West regular season championship. Instead, we're the number 2 seed. Irvine is the number 1 seed. So hopefully UH will get to the championship by defeating Cal State Fullerton. Logic says we should beat them, but a lot of it is going to depend on the start. And that's kind of why I'm putting UH as, I would say, 3-point favorites. If they can win by a lot more than that, then good on them. Now, before I end this video, I have to get this one out of the way. Eran Ganot deserves extension. Now, Ganot has been with the program as head coach since 2016 after Benji Taylor had left and Gib Arnold was subsequently fired amidst the NCAA allegations from the 2015 season, I believe. But still, those are, at the time, those guys were players from Benji Taylor's era that were recruited by Benji Taylor himself, and then Eran Ganot had stepped on board. And Ganot has been the head coach since. Now, I will say, though, although I don't agree with at times with the things that Ganot does, I still believe in the guy. Believe me, he knows what he's doing. And with the way that this season has gone, and the fact that they were able to relieve a lot of those droughts that they've had with some of the other teams like Irvine and Santa Barbara, especially at home, that should speak enough volumes to know that this team can compete with the other teams and they can do great things. And we saw that. We saw the team do great things this season. It may not have added up to a regular season championship, which is unfortunate, but still, attendance is higher from a year ago. Everybody's starting to come out. Everybody's starting to support the Bows a lot more because now they're winning. Is it going to add up to a national ranking? No, not yet. But still, the fact that the audience numbers are starting to go up is one of the good signs. And AD Matt Elliott, I was reading something on Spectrum News. The way that it's looking right now, Ganot should get an extension for next season, at least. And after the way the season has gone, I say keep Ganot's job under lock and key because I believe in that man until hell freezes over. The guy proved that he can recruit, and with guys like Isaac Johnson and Dre Bullock, Hunter Erickson, and of course Isaac Finlinson coming into his own, as well as Isaiah Kerr, and even some of the alums like Anthony Carter and Troy Osler, who was also who's also one of the head coaches at Utah, or rather in Vegas for one of the other teams there. To have him come and speak with the current roster, for Ganot to do something like that, that's speaking volumes. And I like that. And I remember Troy Osler. He's from my early tenure, back when I was in grade school, believe it or not. And maybe even to a point, my early intermediate school years, Troy Osler. And to be frank, to hear these old names again that Ganot remembers, I like what he's doing. He deserves to be at UH, and I know he wants to be there too. But still, if I'm University of Hawaii and athletics director Matt Elliott, I am keeping Ganot's job under lock and key if this past season was any indication. Now, we are moving to the Mountain West in 2026-27, and I do expect Ganot and the Bows to perhaps be contenders in the Mountain West. Now, obviously, it is the first season now. I would have to see some of these teams, but it is nice to see some old rivalries back. Like, I think Fresno State, even I think Utah and San Jose State, they're in the Mountain West, along with Grand Canyon. But still, like I said, it's nice to rekindle some old rivalries from back in the day, back when teams like Fresno State and San Jose State were in the Western Athletic Conference, along with the University of Hawaii. So really, the way I see it right now, this team has really turned some heads. Ganot has proven that he can recruit. He got some good guys like Johnson and Finlinson and Isaiah Kerr, and those guys, or at least Kerr and Finlinson, should definitely return for another season. And to be frank, if anybody from Hawaii enters the transfer portal and it's one of their key contributors, I'm going to be really, really bummed. That's for sure. But at the same time, Ganot has said before that you lose good players and you'll add good players. And of course, UH is losing a lot of their key contributors to graduation. Guys like Isaac Johnson, Hunter Erickson, and Dre Bullock, who were only here for one season, along with Yassine Toomey. That's another guy I left out. But Yassine has been making some noise as well. And I do think Jalen Myers would have made some noise had he stayed with the team. The unfortunate part is that in the case of Gitas Nemicha, the reason why he got his second season is because of a waiver that was passed in January 2025. Unfortunately, I didn't see anything of that kind with regards to Isaac Johnson and Hunter Erickson and Dre Bullock and even those who are and even Yassine Toomey, because if certain circumstances gave those guys that I mentioned an additional second senior season, like what happened with Gitas Nemicha, no doubt they would take it, let alone stay at the University of Hawaii, because they definitely like it here. And if that happened, I wouldn't rule out this team making a lot of noise in the Mountain West. Are they going to win it? Are they going to win the regular season? Maybe, maybe not. But, considering you're moving conferences to the Mountain West next year, I do think that recruitment should be a notch easier, but we'll see what happens. So, as far as this season goes overall, and also before I get to that, you also have to hope that Aaron Hunkin-Clater will be a junior and he will return for his junior season, because odds are we will need his services in the Mountain West. And I look for Hunkin-Clater to be a team captain either next season or his final in 2027-28. But we'll see what happens. Considering that we're moving conferences, I do think that recruitment should be a little easier, and a lot of guys will want to come to the University of Hawaii, and let's hope that maybe we got a championship in us. And for now, anyway, if UH can beat Cal State Fullerton on Friday and make it to the championship, they may get an NIT bid, and maybe they can make some noise then. And obviously, it's been a decade since University of Hawaii went to the dance. So hopefully that will happen this year. Only time will tell, and I can only hope and pray that UH will play really well both against Cal State Fullerton and the championship game if they happen to get there. And that's where I'll leave it. So anyway, guys, that's all for this season. I will do a recap after Cal State Fullerton in the Big West tournament, so stay tuned for that. I do also have to do my recap for Indianapolis Supercross, and I have yet to see that along with Daytona. But I will try to do Daytona tomorrow. This is an off week for Supercross. But in the meantime, those will come in due time. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. And remember, subscribe, go Bows, and we'll see you all after the Big West Tournament semifinals against Cal State Fullerton.